Welcome to Last Weekly. It is about to get real, y'all. We'll be reviewing
Soul is a 2020 Disney computer animated comedy drama produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Disney Pictures. It's available right now on Disney Plus for no added fee. It's not a premium VOD situation. All you have to do is get Disney Plus. Soul is directed by Pete Docter and co-directed by Kemp Powers. The film stars the voices of Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton, Richard Ayoade, Alice Braga, Rachel House. And like I said, it's available right now. So right after you listen to our review, why don't you go watch Soul? My only question before you start the synopsis, Kevin, is are we including spoilers or are we not including spoilers?
We'll give a spoiler warning. So if people want to, stop listening at that point and want to watch the movie, and then come back and listen, you'll be able to do that. So I think that's fair. So if you don't want to hear us talk about it at all, you know what? Just hit pause or stop listening. Go watch the movie and then come back, and you can actually join the conversation later and do a call in or message us on social media and let us know what your review of the film was. So let me give you the synopsis. All right. So in Pixar Soul, a musician who has lost his passion for music is transported out of his body and must find his way back with the help of an infant soul learning about herself. All right, Tone. So what did you think of Pixar's Soul?
Now, Pixar Soul, I think an interesting way for Kevin and me to approach this is I just want to give you a little brief idea of what I thought of the trailer, and then I want to just point to the comparisons to that. So from when we watched the trailer here and we discussed it, I knew this was a Pixar movie going in. I knew it was going to be one of those movies that just tug at your heartstrings. And I had a few concerns with whenever they get celebrity voices like a Jamie Foxx, for example. I sometimes it's really hard for me to not see that person or hear that person's voice and like actually get into the character. And I'm very happy to report that Jamie Foxx, I thought, did a great job in this role. I completely just bought into the character that he was playing. I did not see Jamie Foxx. I thought Tina Fey also did a marvelous job, and just basically they both were submerged in these characters. I didn't see that they're celebrity. I didn't hear them, and the story in Soul and the visual effects. Me and Kevin talked back and forth about how amazing visually this looked, and every year computer generated effects seem to be improved more and more to the point where I think Kevin and I discussed it. They're just going to get actors to do the voices, and this was just a marvelous visual experience. This Soul takes place. A lot of it takes place in New York City. And I'm very happy to report, and Susan, if you're listening, it looks just like New York. Like, oh my God, these streets were so vivid. The CGI was like Pixar. Every single film just raises the bar, and you're watching this. And if you blink really fast, your mind kind of catches itself and says, "Is this real? Is this live action? This is not live action." So that and the performances of Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey. And I gotta give a big shout out to Alice Braga, who I watched Queen of the South, and I'm just so enamored with this actor and the way that she's taken on different roles. She's also in she's also in New Mutants. I haven't seen New Mutants yet, to everybody's surprise, but I really, and she's also going to be in the Suicide Squad. So I'm so happy to see actors that are starting TV and they jump onto the screen and they get opportunities. And a lot of times people, an actor who have a certain voice dynamic, I would say an accent, they're very limited to certain roles because of that accent. And Alice Braga, she's such a badass actor that she just domineers in every role that she takes, and it's no difference here. She plays a character called Jerry, and
one of the Jerrys.
Yeah, one of the Jerrys. But and in this role, like, I thought her voice, these characters, not to give too much away, but they're like otherworldly beings, and it takes.
Okay, you know what? Let's not hit ourselves. Spoiler alert! We're going to talk about specifics about the film. Go for it. People have been warned, so that they don't want to hear anymore, they can stop.
So Alice Braga plays like basically this interdimensional gatekeeper. And Kevin, tell them a little about what you think. So we'll come back to Alice Braga.
Okay, so basically let's talk about the Jerrys. The Jerrys are basically there for the before. There's an afterlife. So what happens is, oh my God, what is his name? What is the name of the lead character? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had a brain fart. Like, I was just thinking, I keep thinking Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx. It's not Jamie Foxx.
Okay, while you look for that,
Joe.
So Joe basically he's working as a music teacher, and much to his surprise, he gets offered tenure, a permanent position, and for him, it's a placeholder teaching music. That's not his passion. His passion is he's a jazz musician and he wants to perform with the jazz greats. He's never had a career he's never been able to sustain himself as a musician. And so the same day he gets told that he's going to get a permanent job as a middle school music teacher, he gets a call that one of his former students is working with a jazz legend, and the person who was supposed to play piano is unavailable at the last minute, and he needs him to come in, and he can basically get this gig potentially to be to actually perform with one of his musical idols. And so on his way, he's so excited, he walks into an open manhole and is hurt badly enough that he's in a coma, and he's all of a sudden on an escalator to heaven or to a bright light. They're not calling it heaven. They don't say what it is, but he's on an escalator with a whole bunch of other souls, and he's headed towards this bright light, and he's freaked out. They're like, no, I can't go now. This is my big break. And he ends up falling off of the escalator to the sky, and he falls down to a place that isn't hell. He falls into the before place, which is where souls yet to be born exist. And so all these I guess you could call infant souls, basically the before time is where your personality comes together, and then you basically get these different little badges that indicate different parts of who you are, your makeup. And then once you have all of those badges about your different personality traits, then you get a badge that basically is your pass to Earth, and then you go to Earth to live your life. And so when Joe did you say Joe or George?
Joe.
Once
Gardner.
Joe Gardner falls, and he's now in this before land, he ends up being paired with Tina Fey, because people who've lived in the past, they basically sometimes some of them before they go up to the next plane to that bright light, they get to mentor a new potential soul. So 22, that's her number. That means she's like the 22nd soul ever in the history of time. She has managed to finagle not being born all this time because she doesn't think there's any value into actual living. And so they have purposes that actually might work out together, where basically she wants to avoid being born, he wants to get back to Earth, and so they're going to work together to keep her from getting born and to get him back to Earth. And what Tone was saying earlier about the visuals, this movie is just gorgeous with what you talked about, like New York City, and they have perfected brown skin and different skin tones.
Oh,
the
my
people
God,
are
you're
so
right.
incredible. His mother has more lighter skin. Her skin was pitch perfect. His skin was pitch perfect. There was a darker barber that looked like, I've seen that barber, that hipster with that hipster beard. I know that guy.
That guy Des. Yep.
It was amazing how good it looked. But beyond that, the before place, the design of the Jerrys, which is amazing. The kind of the way they look otherworldly, there's such beauty in them. I thought they were amazing looking. The idea of the design for all of the souls, how they're all kind of like this bluish kind of green, kind of glowing, almost like a gel or something. And they were actually based on some kind of the lightest substance on Earth, this man-made substance that's so light, it kind of has that hue where it kind of looks like it's blue or green, depending on how the light's hitting it. And there's a little bit of color around the edges where it could be like kind of pink or whatever. Absolutely amazing. So many concepts.
Amazing. So this before time, before place, the great before, Kevin, I thought it was so. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and my wife and I didn't watch this with her because we were concerned with the religious aspects that it might impart, and we didn't want to talk about death. We haven't spoken to her about death and those questions. And this film, like Kevin, it handles that so perfectly. It doesn't mention any religions. It doesn't talk about any specific faiths. It manages like not to even let that hunker it down. I was just taken back by that. And also, Kevin, back to Alice Braga and Richard Ayoade. Ayoade, I'm hoping I pronounced his last name right. From the IT crowd, they did a great job with these Jerrys, because they managed. There was an eeriness to the way that this was animated. Whenever they show you the great beyond, that's the place that Kevin's referencing. That's like the after you pass away. That's a big bright place. There was like an ominous, like weird, the sound that they played and the visual of it. It really was like made me feel uneasy. Did you feel that way?
Well, it was definitely otherworldly. I thought that it was the juxtaposition of the darkness of the, like when you're going on the escalator, the infinite black, inky blackness, and then the bright white light that everybody's headed towards, versus the color, the light, and the pastel-ness, this kind of like meadow where it kind of has like grass or something, and all these kind of sculptures and stuff. And there's the room where there's the great everything, where basically when trying to have souls figure out what their passions are or what may drive their personality, there's like a hall of everything where almost everything that ever existed is there, and then even may exist, because there's actually some of the, like the ships in Wall-E, the future, the kind of the space cruise ships in Wall-E that the people are living on. You can see one of them in the background in the Great Hall of Everything, as well as a Pizza Planet truck, which is ubiquitous in all Pixar films. So I didn't feel uneasy. I was in awe of the Jerrys, how they made them look so otherworldly, but also they didn't look threatening to me. I didn't feel they didn't look threatening, but they were very like nothing I'd ever quite seen before.
Correct. You guys have to watch this. Like, I don't know, they made them feel like otherworldly. And in animation, their design was so different than the art of how everything else was designed that it just worked. I don't know how to. It just worked for me. And it's watching these Pixar movies a lot of times, like, they're gonna tug at your heart. And it kind of really the only other movie that watching this, I even had, I felt like the dynamic between Joe and 22 kind of reminded me a little bit of the dynamic between Ralph from Wreck-It Ralph and I believe it's Daisy, the other character he's always chasing around, Sarah Silverman's character.
Yes.
So they always have, like, this reminded me a little bit about that. They're dynamic. There's always like a self-interested character, another character that's just crazy, like 22. But they really created something here that I don't think I've seen before. And I just found myself entertained, but at the same time, the whole time I couldn't be fully entertained, because I was just in awe of even the way that the sound design, the movie when it starts, Kev, when they play the theme song, like that Disney theme song, but to the jazz music of the class, everything was done so well. There was such care in the production of this movie.
Okay, I will defy you to find a more moving scene than in this movie, when Jamie Foxx's character George is having it out with his mother.
Oh.
And she basically tells him things that he's never heard from her in his whole life. It was one of the most incredible scenes, the way they did it so gracefully, because at that moment in time, Tina Fey is in his body. And so he's talking to Tina Fey, telling her what to say to his mother, and the passion in Jamie Foxx's voice as he's talking to his mother, and how the camera moves, because it's like you see him the cat talking to Tina Fey, but the camera moves around behind his mother's face, but behind her head, and all of a sudden it's just, you see just Jamie Foxx's face, and you see him talking, and he's talking directly to his mother, and it was so powerful. And now some people have complained, one of the controversies about the film, some people have been upset because they feel like whenever there's an animated film with a main character that's black, most of the time you don't see them as black. They're actually trapped in something else. Will Smith in his Spies Like Us or whatever film, whatever that movie is called, he is trapped in a pigeon for most of the film. Most famously in The Princess and the Frog, the black princess is a frog for like 98% of the film. So the idea that when you have the very first black character to ever be the lead in a Pixar film spends much of his time, when he isn't like an adorable blue creature. I love how his spirit has a fedora and glasses. He doesn't have a nose anymore, but he still has his glasses and he has a fedora, which is adorable. Then when he gets back to Earth, he accidentally falls into a cat. And so Tina Fey is in his body.
So Kevin and me had spoke briefly about how a lot of people were talking about this as a controversy. And when I was watching the film and he falls into the body of the cat, I was like, damn it, he has a point, a little bit of a point there. They had to do it.
And so I can see what people's point is. This has happened too many times. But this can't be the last Pixar film to have a leading character of color, besides Mulan. And basically the next black character needs to stay in their body from the beginning of the opening credits to the ending closing credits. They need to stay in their friggin' body. Because this has gotten ridiculous at this point. To me, it's not a strike against this movie. I feel like this movie is pretty close to a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. At one point when he's falling from the escalator, he falls through these layers of reality, and one point it's all black and just he's white outline. It was so gorgeous and so innovative, the thinking behind it. Then there's this whole thing they talk about, the idea of if you've ever done anything that you really love, like sports or music or something that you're really passionate about, how you get into this zone where it's almost like meditative and you're not even aware of time passing. There's a place that we all go where when we're experiencing that, and we actually see that realm and the way they depict it, and then the idea of how this thing that you're passionate about can actually become something that controls you, and you can become a lost soul, and how they visually depicted that. Like when Tina Fey's character 22 is lost, and how they depict that, it was so perfect. It was so perfect. There were so many great ideas, and they weren't bogged down by religion. And anyway, I just thought it was a masterpiece. I don't know how else to say it. I was moved. We already know that Pixar knows how to tug at your heartstrings, but it actually made you think about life and what our purpose is, and that
what our
passion
spark is.
Yeah, our spark or our passion should not be just the driver, because the whole idea that Tina Fey's character, the idea that 22 doesn't want to she doesn't think there's any kind of value in life, and she also mistakenly thought that the reason why, because she doesn't have a spark, that something's going to make her want to live and live for, and just no, you can live for life. And I love this scene when not only when we see her experience pizza for the first time, which was amazing, but there's a scene where she literally is laying on a subway grate, and the air is blowing up, and she has a suit on, and she's experiencing the feeling of the air blowing on her. And then there's one point, there's a leaf that falls down, and she's looking up at the one of my favorite things to do is to sit under a tree, and that the way the light refracts through the leaves, and that dappled sunlight that peeks through the gap. We see a moment where she's having one of those experiences, and just there is so much to life. It's not just about our passion or having a hit podcast. Not that I'm asking for one, but yeah. Like and subscribe. But anyway,
Kevin, speaking of sunlight, there were some scenes where the sunlight reflected so perfectly on this animated skin that it looked like they really had sun on them. I just can't explain it.
Oh my God! There's a moment, and I actually used that picture in the artwork for the episode, our last episode, where he comes out and the sun is hitting him in the face, and it just looks so photorealistic. It is amazing. There are so many beautiful just moments in this film, just absolutely gorgeous. But just the relationship with him and his mother, and then there's this whole thing where she basically he has his best pants, he rips those pants because he hasn't worn them for a show in a long time, and so his mother. Anyway, when she makes him that suit, the way, and I believe his mother was voiced by oh God, what's her name? Phylicia
Rashad.
Oh my
Phylicia
God,
Rashad.
the love coming from her, that the quote, the black love in that family, their relationship. And another thing, there's people accused it of not telling a black story. It was telling a story of an everyman. But you know what? For people that may have made that complaint, an everyman can be a black man, and every man and every woman can be, and every man can be a woman. And so, yes, it was telling the story of an individual, but that story could have been anybody. That story could have been, you could have basically made that character white and had him living, and have him want to be a country musician living in North Carolina or someplace, or Tennessee. You could have absolutely the exact same story, because there's just a thing about being human. And so people that have that as a strike against it, they felt like it wasn't black centric enough. I felt like we did see this man who was very much a black man living his best life in New York City, moving through the world, and he has this extraordinary experience. And I didn't feel like they were whitewashing Jamie Foxx's character. Did you?
Not at all. I actually felt like they felt very authentic. Like, I haven't felt like, honestly, Pixar, I gotta give credit to, when I saw Coco, I thought that it was very authentic, the way they were depicting people. When I saw the people in that barbershop, they looked like people I've encountered in a barbershop right here in New York. Like, it was, the people just looked very authentic. It didn't look like it was trying to, like push too much. There's a scene where he tries to get a cab and 22 is in his body, and he says, just put your thumb up. And he's like, this is hard enough, just normally. And
exactly. I love that nod. People felt like the only thing they could have added more to it is the fact that when he's running out of the hospital and he's just wearing that hospital gown, that people could have been more upset or more freaked out or afraid of him. But I felt like that was a nice nod to the reality of what it means to be a black man in America. The idea that, yes, ordinarily it's hard for him to catch a cab, but to have somebody else in his body and then be in a hospital gown trying to get a cab. Yeah, that's why he couldn't get one.
So no, I do not. I can't. I didn't see it that way. I didn't think that it wasn't, like, let's say, quote unquote, black enough, or it was trying to be a black movie. It was just a real person's journey, and I feel like something that a lot of people I think Hollywood, honestly, is just learning this now with Fast and Furious and other movies that have become blockbusters that involve a lot of diversity and faces of color, that for some reason Hollywood thought that white audiences could only enjoy a film if it was a white protagonist, because they didn't think that other people could see themselves in those people's journeys. And I think that's something that's wrong, and that Hollywood is just learning now. And I never, watching this film, it just looked like a person's journey. And I think anyone can appreciate it, regardless of race or background.
Oh, that's absolutely true. And what always bugs me about that, and you're right, I do believe that Hollywood not only has believed it, but still believes that you can't, that people that aren't of color can't look at a person of color as the protagonist and be committed and involved in their story. And what's so crazy is that shows what the difference between having people of color in power making these decisions versus white people. Because people of color, especially women of color or females of color, all of us have grown up watching stories, TV shows, and movies where we've seen people that don't look like us, and we've cared about their journeys. We've cared about Luke Skywalker with his blonde feathered hair and his blue eyes, and some guy in a black mask telling him that he is his father. We cared about that even though he didn't look like us. And so there's even a thing, even in children's books, that they don't like female characters being the lead, because if you have a little girl being the lead or on the front of the book, then that story is for girls. But if you put a little boy on it, its story is for everyone. It's a universal story if it's a boy. So it's the same kind of thing ethnically, that is, if it's a white person, it's, we can all enjoy this story. But if it's a person of color, if it's a Hindi woman or an Asian man, that we can't all, first of all, I loved Crazy Rich Asians, and I can't wait for Crazy Rich Asians 2. So I can absolutely, and I don't know if I told you guys, but I'm not Asian. And so I enjoy the story very much. And you can enjoy stories about people that don't look like you and that have different experiences from you, because there's this whole thing called humanity that binds us. It binds our stories. And if you can just open yourself up to that, there's a whole world of possibilities.
100%. I just also want to add, Kevin, that after watching the movie and I was writing my notes, I noticed that Questlove from The Roots was actually Curly, his student slash drummer in the movie.
I know, isn't that neat?
It was pretty cool.
Oh, one thing you mentioned about the voices, I agree with you. Normally, when they have these high-profile people do voices, you can get like so hung up on like, oh my God, that's so and so, that's so and so, that's so and so. But Jamie Foxx, I wasn't thinking Jamie Foxx as I was watching the story. I got lost in the character, and I thought he did an excellent job. The only flaw, if there's any flaw in this movie, is that I want more. When we talked about this in trailer talk, I had a prediction, and I still wish I could get some kind of satisfaction. My prediction was that it might turn out that Tina Fey's unborn spirit, that when she went to Earth, that she might end up being his future daughter. And so we see, talk about heartstrings. At the point where Joe actually gives up his chance to go back and be alive because he wants Tina Fey's character 22 to have a chance to be alive. And so she's going to go to Earth finally to live. And so he basically says, she goes, can you come with me? He goes, I can't go all the way with you, but I'll go as far as I can. And they jump towards Earth and they're holding hands and they separate. And then she's going towards Earth and he can't go any further. And she looks back at him. You don't even know how my heart broke. When she looks at him and they split up. Oh, it broke my heart, Tone. It broke my heart.
There's no dry eyes at the end of this movie, Kevin. There's no dry eyes.
So if only thing I wanted more. Now they said it was a conscious decision not to show what Joel's life looks like back on Earth, because we basically see him. He gets a second chance. They decide to give him a second chance at life, and we just see him greeting the day. We see him walking through his front door and seeing the day that awaits him, and that's the last shot we see of him. We see 22 headed towards Earth. We don't know where she ends up, and so I would have liked more, and I don't think this is going to be like a series of films. They're not going to have like Soul Part 5, but I really wish there'd be a short where we get to see these characters. I love these characters so much. I'd love to see more of their lives' journeys. That's my only issue is I wanted more, which I guess is a good thing when it comes to a film that you want more. You ended it wanting more of it.
I'm completely with you, Kevin. The only thing that I kept nitpicking at, and this is me being nitpicky, like this is probably one of the best films that I watched recently, was the fact that they could basically, these souls before they were born, they could fix anything. But Joe died and kept his glasses and his fedora. Like they couldn't fix his eyes. Like that just bugged me. I know it was an identifying character, but anybody can survive even in the afterlife. You have bad vision. Like they don't have laser surgery. Like,
well, now some might say that it was because he was still holding on to his earthly identity. Because we do see the we do see the spirits on the escalator, the before spirits, the infant spirits that have not been to Earth, they all kind of look very similar. They all kind of have the same look. But when we see the ones on the escalator like Joe, we see some people that have like shawls on, like a little old lady that has like a shawl on and a hairstyle. So I think that when you're leaving this earthly plane in this reality, in this story, that you hold on to some aspects of who you were before you go into the light. And so that's why he doesn't even have a nose anymore. How are those glasses staying up? I didn't even see ears. So those glasses are just a part of his kind of his spirit or something. So now you want to be fair, what about 22? She has an overbite. Now, so come on. So you got to give them some license to make them look a little different, to stand out. Because he did not need the fedora or the glasses, to be honest with you. And one thing what was kind of neat about him having a fedora, though, when he goes to the barbershop, he's not bald. Normally, when a guy's wearing a fedora, it's because there's he's a member of the hair club for men.
You taking shots, Kevin? You taking shots?
I'm not I'm saying it was interesting that when I with the fedora thing, I thought that he's bald or something, but it turned out that no, he had a full head of hair underneath that fedora. So that was pretty. That was zigging when we thought we were gonna zag. So I thought that was kind of interesting take.
I was disappointed by that. As someone who's bald who loves wearing a fedora, I was disappointed. I thought he was a member of my tribe, but no, he's not.
Oh my God, Tone, if I see you on the other side and you got a fedora on, I'm going to lose. I'm like, oh my God, they were right. Pixar was right. You do keep your accessories on the other side.
Oh God, make sure to get to, laser surgery.
Laser surgery. You don't have to have glasses forever and eternity.
That's a perfect commercial for laser surgery. Do you want glasses for the rest of your life?
No, for the rest of eternity, not for the rest of your life. Get rid of it because you'll be stuck with them forever if you don't fix it up before you go. Oh my God. But anyway, absolutely a joy, a masterpiece, and I can't believe it. It was fun, Tone, going beyond the trailers after the trailer for the very first time.
Oh gosh, it was amazing going beyond the trailer. I think we should bring this back more often, Kevin.
Oh my God. So yeah, you know what? We might even talk about Wonder Woman 1984 maybe in the next episode. I don't know. It depends on, we'll see how everybody feels. But anyway, because I dropped the ball. Honestly, we were supposed to watch both. Tone watched both. I was so fixated on our country being on fire that I could not sit and watch Wonder Woman with a golden lasso and take notes. So I'm like, I can't do it.
Kevin, so they should definitely leave us a comment and let us know, do you enjoy it after the trailer? Because this is something we could definitely do.
We definitely want to know. If you'd like to have us review more things together, actually review the trailer and then later review the actual film or TV show, we would absolutely love to hear from you. And if you want more, we're not above giving you what you want here at Last Weekly.
And make sure to check us out, guys, because you can also listen to Last Weekly and Apple Podcasts. You can listen on Stitcher. People don't even know we are on YouTube, Kevin. And make sure to listen to us on WJMSradio.com every Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you're in the Pacific, check us out at 1:30 p.m. And every Friday now, Kevin, they can also listen to Last Weekly at 11 a.m. Eastern. And if you're in the Pacific, check us out at 8 a.m. And we make these things very easy. If you guys want to find our links or where you can leave a comment, go to lastweekly.com for all our links where you can listen to us.
So easy, and we absolutely do want to hear from you. And we can't recap every story or talk about every movie, but we do want to talk about what you want us to talk about. So if there's anything going on in the world of news, pop culture, or entertainment you want to hear us talk about or hear our take on, let us know. So you can reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram. We are at Last Weekly on both. Also, we're on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook, Last Weekly, and like Tone said, you can leave us a voice message. So you go to lastweekly.com. There is a link for to leave us a voice message, and we might actually play your voice message on the show. You can actually be a part of Last Weekly. We would love to have you. All right, so we want to thank you for, like Tone said earlier, riding with us all through the year 2020, because it was a bumpy ride. And 2021 was a little bumpy so far. And so we want to thank you for joining us yet again. We really appreciate your support for the show. This is why we do it for you. So thank you so much for your support. And we want you to join us for the next episode of Last Weekly, because the week doesn't end. Say it with me, Tone. Until we say
All right.
so. Now you can get social with me and the rest of the Last Weekly crew in an instant on Instagram and Twitter. Follow us at Last Weekly. And subscribe to Last Weekly on your favorite podcast app to hear our recap of the week in news, pop culture, and entertainment. Plus TV and movie trailer reviews during Trailer Talk. I'm Kevin Williams. Thanks for listening.